Between December 1968 and October 1969, a man killed at least 5 people in Northern California. He was never caught. He sent letters to newspapers taunting police. He sent ciphers, 4 of them, that he claimed contained his identity. 2 were solved. 2 were not. The first cipher was solved in a week by a couple in Salinas who had never studied cryptography. The second cipher took 51 years, 3 private citizens from 3 different countries, and 650,000 computational attempts. When they finally cracked it, the message read, "I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner." The third and fourth ciphers have never been officially solved. One of them, 13 characters, the shortest of the 4, may contain his name. A French engineer working alone claims he decoded it in 2 weeks. The name he found, Lawrence Kaye. The FBI has not confirmed this. The FBI has not denied it either. The FBI has said nothing at all. The Zodiac Killer operated in the San Francisco Bay Area over a 10-month period that began in December 1968. His victims were, with one exception, attacked in pairs. Couples parked in isolated areas, targeted with a combination of a handgun and, in one attack, a knife. The exception was a cab driver, Paul Stein, shot in the head in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood in October 1969. Law enforcement officially attributes 5 murders and 2 attempted murders to the Zodiac across 4 confirmed attacks. The victims ranged in age from 16 to 29. None of them had any known connection to each other. None of them had any known reason to have been specifically targeted. The Zodiac was seen by witnesses. 3 police officers encountered him minutes after the Stein murder, mistakenly allowing him to walk away. Witness descriptions placed him as a white male, approximately 5 feet 8 to 5 feet 11, heavy set, wearing a distinctive pair of glasses, military style, square frames, and a dark jacket. A composite sketch was produced and widely circulated. No arrest was ever made. What made the Zodiac case unlike any other serial killer investigation of its era was not the killings themselves. It was what happened after. Beginning in August 1969, the Zodiac began writing to newspapers. Over the following years, he sent approximately 21 letters, taunting police, describing his crimes in detail that could only have been known to the killer or investigators, threatening bombings and demanding his correspondence be printed on the front page. And embedded in several of those letters, ciphers. The Zodiac sent 4 cryptograms over the course of his correspondence. The first, 3 parts totaling 408 characters, mailed simultaneously to 3 Bay Area newspapers in August 1969, was solved within a week of its publication, not by the FBI, not by the NSA, by Donald and Betty Hardin, a couple in Salinas, California. Betty had a theory about the killer's psychology, that he was egotistical, and that the cipher probably began with the pronoun I. Using that assumption and working through the night, they broke it. The decoded message was a rambling, misspelled manifesto. The Zodiac wrote that he killed because collecting slaves for the afterlife was more fun than hunting animals. He ended the message with a string of characters he claimed were his name, but the string remained unresolved even after the rest was decoded. In November 1969, the Zodiac mailed a second cipher, 340 characters, more complex, constructed with a different encryption method than the first. He asked for it to be printed on the front page. Cryptographers analyzed it for decades. Nova ran a segment on it. The NSA reviewed it. Amateur code breakers around the world spent years on it. It remained unsolved for 51 years. In December 2020, an international team of private citizens, David Oranchak, an American software developer, Sam Blake, an Australian mathematician, and Jarl van Eyck, a Belgian programmer, cracked it. They ran 650,000 possible encryption configurations through a program Van Eyck had written. The correct solution emerged from that computational process. The decoded message was unsettling in its mundanity. The Zodiac wrote that he was not the man who called in on a San Francisco radio program. He wrote that he was not afraid of execution because dying would send him to paradise sooner. He misspelled paradise as paradise, a spelling error consistent with other misspellings in his letters. He did not include his name. 2 ciphers remain. The Z32, 32 characters, accompanying a map of Mount Diablo, which the Zodiac claimed would reveal the location of a buried bomb when the cipher was solved. And the Z13, 13 characters sent in a separate letter, which the Zodiac implied contained his identity. The Z32 has never been officially solved. The Z13 has never been officially solved. In 2021, a French engineer read about the Zodiac Killer in a magazine. His name is Faisal Ziraoui. He is a graduate of École Polytechnique and HEC Paris, France's most prestigious engineering and business schools. He had no background in cryptography. He had no previous involvement with the case. He read about the Z340 being solved, and he thought, why not the others? He obtained the encryption key that the Oranchak team had made public after solving Z340. He applied it with modifications to the Z13 and Z32 ciphers. He worked, by his own account, day and night for 2 weeks. He says he solved them. The Z32, he claims, decodes to a phrase indicating the bomb at Mount Diablo is still there, placed but never retrieved. The Z13, he claims, decodes to a name. The name AENEIDRVPLUA, which, using an anagram approach, resolves to Lawrence Kaye. Lawrence Kaye, also known as Lawrence Kane, was a suspect in the original Zodiac investigation, a Navy veteran, a man with a documented history of violence against women, a man who lived in the San Francisco Bay Area during the period of the killings, a man who moved to South Lake Tahoe after the killings effectively stopped. He died in 2010. Ziraoui published his findings. Cryptographers reviewed them. Several noted that the Z13, at only 13 characters, is too short to allow statistical confirmation of any solution. There are too many possible interpretations of 13 encrypted characters to say with certainty which one is correct. Others noted that Ziraoui's methodology was sound, given the constraints. The FBI was contacted. The FBI's response was silence, not a confirmation, not a denial, not a statement acknowledging receipt, not a referral to the existing investigation. Silence. For most of the investigation's history, the closest thing to an official suspect was Arthur Lee Allen. Allen was a former elementary school teacher, a convicted sex offender, a man whose name surfaced early in the investigation and never entirely went away. He matched the physical description. He had been seen wearing a Zodiac watch, a brand, not a title, before the Zodiac murders began. A witness identified him as the man who had made threatening statements about wanting to kill couples and name himself after a watch. His home was searched twice. The searches produced circumstantial evidence, typewriters, knives, materials consistent with the case, but nothing definitively linking him to the murders. In 1991, a DNA sample was recovered from the back of a stamp on one of the Zodiac's letters. When Allen died in 1992, a DNA sample was taken. The samples did not match. The FBI's official position, Allen was never charged. No one has ever been charged. The case is open. What the DNA non-match means depends on what you believe about the letters. Some investigators believe the Zodiac may have had someone else seal and mail some of his correspondence, that the DNA on the stamps and envelopes may not be his. Some believe the original DNA sample has degraded beyond reliable use. Some believe the sample was always contaminated. The forensic genealogy technique that identified the Golden State Killer, running DNA through public genealogy databases to find family members, has reportedly been applied to the Zodiac case. No match has been found, which means one of the following is true. The killer had no descendants who have uploaded their DNA to the relevant databases, or the DNA sample is not usable, or the DNA on the letters is not the killer's. Any of these explanations is possible. None of them is satisfying. The last letter the Zodiac sent to the San Francisco Chronicle arrived in January 1974. In it, he referenced a film he had seen and expressed displeasure with a book about the case. He did not announce that he was stopping. He did not explain why this would be his last communication. He simply stopped. The letter is known for one detail that has never been adequately explained. In it, the Zodiac claimed to have killed 37 people. Law enforcement has confirmed 5. The gap, 32 people, has never been accounted for. Some investigators believe the 37 was a fabrication, an exaggeration designed to terrify. Some believe the Zodiac may have been responsible for additional murders that were never connected to his pattern. The Bay Area in the late 1960s and early 1970s had other unsolved homicides, some of which have been speculatively linked to the Zodiac by amateur researchers, and none of which have been officially attributed. In the classified portion of the FBI's Zodiac file, the portion that has not been released, there are reportedly case files for unsolved homicides that investigators considered and either linked or dismissed. What those files contain and what they concluded is not publicly known. We found 3 cases in the public record, 3 unsolved murders from the same period, the same geographic area, the same victim profile that match the Zodiac's pattern in ways that have never been officially addressed. We are not going to claim these were Zodiac murders. We are going to show you why they were never officially ruled out and why they were never officially ruled in. One detail about the Zodiac has remained consistent across witness descriptions, composite sketches, and investigator profiles. He appeared to have a military background. The glasses were military style. The haircut was military. The composure, the ability to operate methodically under pressure, to remain calm in high-stress situations, to plan and execute without leaving substantial forensic evidence, was consistent with training rather than instinct. After the murder of Paul Stein in October 1969, 3 police officers encountered a man matching the Zodiac's description near the Presidio, San Francisco's military base. The officers, acting on a misidentified radio dispatch, allowed the man to walk away. He was never identified. One detective who worked the case for over 20 years before his retirement and who we spoke with before his death said, "I think he lived in the Presidio. I think that's where you find him. It's the one place we could never fully investigate." We asked why. He said, "Jurisdiction. Cooperation between civilian and military law enforcement in 1969 was not what it is now. There were things we could ask for and things we couldn't. There were records we could request, and records that were simply not available to us." We asked whether he believed the military connection had been adequately pursued. He said, "No, I do not. We want to be precise about what we are and are not claiming. We are not saying the FBI knows who the Zodiac Killer is and has chosen not to reveal it. We are not saying Lawrence Kaye was the Zodiac. We are not saying there are 32 additional victims whose cases have been deliberately suppressed. We are not saying the military connection was covered up. What we are saying is this: the FBI has kept this case open for 56 years. In that time, the tools available to law enforcement have improved dramatically. DNA technology, forensic genealogy, digital analysis of handwriting, and cipher construction. The resources exist, and yet the case is unsolved. When Faisal Ziraoui published his Z13 solution and named a suspect, the FBI said nothing. Not a statement confirming they had reviewed his work. Not a statement dismissing it. Nothing. When amateur researchers have produced analyses pointing toward the Presidio, toward military records, toward specific individuals, law enforcement has consistently described the case as active and indicated that all leads are being pursued. And yet the case is unsolved. We are not drawing a conclusion. We are noting the shape of the silence. And we are asking you to consider what that shape tells you. The Zodiac Killer sent his last letter in January 1974. He has not been identified. He has not been charged. He may still be alive. He would be in his 80s or 90s now if the mid-30s estimate from witness descriptions was accurate. He may have died years ago. He may have lived a quiet life somewhere in Northern California, or moved away, or spent decades watching the investigation that never found him. Somewhere, perhaps, there is a man who knows what the Z13 says, who knows what the Z32 says, who knows whether the number 37 was accurate, who knows why he stopped writing in 1974. We're laying out what we found. You decide what it means. If you know something we don't, you know where to find us. Subscribe, share this, and leave a comment, because the Zodiac said his ciphers contained his name, and the cipher that may contain it, 13 characters sent in 1969, is still waiting.